Hello there, this is Douglas Rumbaugh, and in this video I want to talk about two pieces of functionality that the cd command possesses that it's possible you haven't heard of. They're not the world's most esoteric things, but I didn't find out about them until relatively recently, and I'd imagine many of you are in the same boat. Cd is one of those commands where you just kind of use and sometimes don't think to look into it any further. To begin with, let's do the simplest one first, which is cd actually remembers the last directory that you were in. So, check this out. Say I go into my documents directory like this, and then say for some reason I go into my etc directory. And now I've decided I want to go back to documents. This is actually a really common thing you may want to do, is toggle between two places. Now, you can accomplish this using the pushd and popd commands. If you're not familiar with them, I highly recommend you look them up. They're very handy. However, for those, you kind of have to know up front that that's what you want to do. Once you're in this situation, you can't use them. However, what you can do instead is this. If I say cd and then just a dash like this, that's going to tell cd to go back to the last directory that I was in. So as you can see, cd dash tells me where I went right here, and I am back in documents. And this actually cycles, so I can toggle back and forth between these two directories at will. The second one is what's called the cdpath environment variable. Now, conventionally, as we understand it, cd accepts as an argument a relative path name or an absolute path name. So remember that an absolute path name is one that starts with slash blah blah blah, and a relative path name starts with dot slash blah blah blah, or you can omit the dot slash and it will assume it. Now what cdpath allows you to do is it allows you to distinguish between dot slash blah 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 and just slash blah blah blah. And rather than it strictly looking for this ADL whatever inside of the directory that you're currently in, like it were a relative path, it will actually look for a directory of that name in the directories listed in your cd path. It works a lot like the path environment variable does for binaries or scripts and things like that. So if I wanted to, what I could do is this. Say I export cdpath equals, and this is going to be a colon separated list of directories. I'm going to start with a colon. I'll talk about why I'm starting with a colon in just a second. And then let's say /home/Douglas, like that. And of course, if you'd like to persist your cd path, just chuck this in your shell's RC file or profile or whatever startup file you prefer, and like any other environment variable. So watch this. If I say cd documents, it's going to go there. And from here I can say cd downloads, and I'll go there because it's looking for this not in my working directory, but in my cd path, like so. Now, if I said cd./documents, you can see that doesn't work. It only searches the cd path if you don't put the /. So you can always use / to force it to look in your current directory. And then beyond that, it will search these sequentially. So let's imagine this situation. I've just created two directories, and inside of both those directories, I've put another directory called foo. Now, this is going to be potentially a problem because if I want to cd into foo, foo exists in two places on my cd path. And in fact, let me just go ahead and make one here as well in my current working directory. So if I say cdfoo, and bearing in mind this is the value of my cd path, if I say cdfoo, where do you think I'm going to go? Well, as you can see, it takes me into home Douglas test foo. The reason for that is because your working directory is the first place it searches along the cd path. So if I go ahead and remove this one, so now it's no longer there. Now if I say cdfoo, you'll see I go into documents because it finds it first. So do bear this in mind. If there are name conflicts in your cd path, it's going to go to the first place that the name occurs. So it scans them sequentially. Now, I mentioned earlier, I'm going to tell you why I put a colon here first. If you are using bash as your shell, that colon is actually not necessary. However, I am using the corn shell, and so in the corn shell you do need that. If you're on the corn shell and you don't put that colon first, what's going to happen is it's going to actually drop your working directory from your CD path. So this has a couple of implications. First one is if I go ahead and make foo here, if I say cdfoo like I did before, it's going to go to documents and not my local one. Right? And you should be able to understand why that's happening if my working directory is not on my CD path. So if I wanted to go into foo, I'd have to say // like that and force it. The second implication is that it actually prevents you from CDing into directories that are in your working directory that like this, because no // is telling the corn shell to scan the CD path for the directory. And of course, etc is not in my CD path, it's in my working directory. So you can get around that with // like that. Now, this whole problem goes away if you lead your CD path variable with a colon like this, because that tells it to put your working directory first, and then everything just works. Now note, I'm going to go ahead and just copy this quick, that if you're in bash, so I just hopped into a bash shell here. Bash does not have this problem. So if you're in bash, leading with a colon shouldn't hurt you. Works just the same. But you don't need this leading colon. And I assume that's the case in ZSH as well if you're using the Z shell. But if you're on KSH, you have to put the colon first. Anyway, that I've been talking for longer than I have any business talking about this. Just two little extensions to the cd command that you can use to make your life a little bit easier. The cd path to allow you to specify some directories that you can change into from anywhere effectively, and using the hyphen to toggle back and forth between directories. Works in bash, works in corn shell, works on Z shell. It works on most shells that I'm aware of. So definitely give it a shot, and hopefully this makes your life a little bit easier. I find the cd hyphen thing to be incredibly useful. So as always, this has been Douglas Rumbaugh, and I'll see you in the next video.